All right. All right, welcome back to Crunch Time, the show where we go over the slate each and every day, 2 hours before lock. You get a good overview, takes 1 hour, and today we have a good 7-game slate. And today, joined with Chris, as always, aka chrissair DFS, aka L'Oreal Hair Gel. How are you today? Did you use it today? How's it going? Wait, I think you might be muted, Chris.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was saying, yeah, I definitely slapped some on today. I'm excited for this slate. I think it's 7 games. Usually we don't get this many on a Sunday, but
Yeah.
excited about that. We had NFL earlier. It's doing well so far. The chalk is performing, so that's nice. Hopefully we get the same with the NBA today.
Yep. Yeah, as always, quick housekeeping. If you guys are here from before, be sure to like the video. That helps us out a lot. And then if you like the content and you've been here before, subscribe and hit the bell button so you can always get notifications when we go live. Yeah, it's each and every day, so it's a good show, good place to be. And yeah, let's get started.
I actually saw some stat in YouTube. It said 60% of the watchers aren't subscribed, so definitely we got to get that number lowered. So hit the subscribe button if you are unsubscribed.
Yeah, that's true. We got to get the subscriber count as the chalk count higher percent. Yep. For sure. Okay, let's jump into the first game. Go over LA Memphis. Before we do that, you guys probably already know, but we use our optimizer, dfscrunch.com, to go over the slate and break it down. You can try it for free. It's 3 days free trial right now. No risk at all. You get access to all the sports, all the projections, optimizer, Discord community, all of that. So it's a good place to be. First team.
Do you have any questions, Garry?
Huh? Oh, questions.
Do we have any questions to start with? Anything like that?
Yeah, we have one. With all the lineup shuffling this season, how do you guys project who will play?
Well, even with the lineup shuffling, like, we still know who the starters are going to be. We still usually get word like 15 minutes before each game starts, so usually it's not a problem for us. But when stuff does shift, we always adjust the projections. Everything gets updated pretty quickly, so it's nice having access to the tool.
Yeah. What do you think of the, before we do the slate overview, what do you think of the Vegas lines this year? They've been all over the place. So many blowouts. You still trust them?
Yeah, like I always say, I mean, if you think you have some knowledge that the Vegas lines don't have, like, just bet on that. But I think they're still pretty sharp. Like, you get blowouts here and there, but that happens in NBA. You got games going every day.
Lots of blowouts today is a prediction from Hasty.
It's actually, just looking at the spreads, most of the games are pretty tight outside of
LA.
3 of them, which is actually a pretty big number, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. We can go over LA first. Injury news, we have Caruso out, LeBron James questionable, Pope out, Tilly out, Porter out. Sorry, those are 2 Memphis guys. Ended at Pope, just Pope. And then starters for them, we have Schroeder, Matthews, James if he's in, Davis, Gasol. I guess the big news of the slate today is James. Is he playing today or not?
Yeah, so like you said, that's the big news that we're waiting on. Luckily, it's the first game of the slate, so we will know before that locks. So no reason for me to speculate right now. If I was guessing, I would say he's playing. He's always questionable, and he always ends up playing. So nothing there that I think will change. So this game has the highest spread on the entire slate. It's at 9 right now, favoring the Lakers. They're implied for 114. It's a decent number, but I just think we have better spend ups, better value in other places. So you can take some shots on AD. Finally had a good game last time out. I think 60 fantasy points. So that's nice. He shot 26 times, which is his season high. So that's trending in the right direction. If you think he can do that again, don't mind him in GPPs. Not landing in my cash builds. Just don't have room for him at the moment, just because LeBron is assumed to be playing. Someone standing out for me on Fanduel more so than DraftKings is Dennis Schroeder. He's 5.9 on Fanduel. I think he's 6.8 on DraftKings, so just too expensive over on DK. Don't mind him as a last piece on Fanduel if you want to do that. Other guys here, Montrez, always interesting in tournaments. No interest for me in cash games just because they're healthy for the most part. KCP is going to miss this game. I think he had the ankle injury or something, leg injury, during the last game. Not really anyone that gets too big of a bump here. THT will probably just slot in for him. THT is not going to do that much, especially if he's playing alongside AD and LeBron, so not much interest there for me. Kuzma, same sort of thing. If LeBron is out, obviously we'll lock him in, but right now we don't need it on this slate.
Yeah, for someone like Horton Tucker, since the spread is kind of high for this game, I know you don't like to predict blowouts ever, but in case of a blowout, do you think he's one of those guys who could see some more more run and kind of get that usage up in the garbage time when all the starters are out?
Yeah, for sure. I think he does fit that mold, but again, it's a 9-point spread. If you think it's going to be a 9-point game with 6 minutes left, he'll be out there probably, but he'll probably be out there with AD and LeBron, so not a lot of usage for him.
Yeah, someone I'd look at for sure. 'Cause, if I really think this game will blow out, I think he's one of those pieces I'd like to have in my GPP lineups for sure.
I think Kuzma also sort of fits that. If it's not like a 30-point blowout, I think Kuz will be in there if it's around 15 to 20.
Yeah. Yeah, who else on the Lakers could do that? Dudley. don't go to Dudley. I don't
definitely
even
not
think...
Dudley.
Huh?
Just THT and Kuzma for the most part. That's it.
Okay, Memphis side of things. Let's go over that. Let's see, open here. Injuries, we have Tilly, Porter, Melton probable, Tillman questionable, Winslow out, and then Grayson Allen questionable. Projected starters, we have Tyus Jones, Allen if he's in, Brooks, Anderson, and Joval. Anderson has been kind of a surprise for me this year. He's been performing quite well. Do you think he can keep that up for the next short term? And then what do you think of Allen? Do you think he's playing today?
So he has the questionable tag. I don't know, 50-50 probably. Doesn't change too much. If he's out, we can go back to Desmond Bane. I talked him up a bit last time out with Grayson Allen doubtful, and Desmond Bane actually had a decent game for his price tag, put up 20 fantasy points, played 28 minutes, took 12 shots, so that was a pretty good play there. Yeah, Kyle Anderson, you mentioned him. If you're looking at the game log, yeah, he stands out a lot, but the main thing that stands out here for me is his price tag. We're paying 6.4 for him on FanDuel, and then same price on DraftKings actually, so it's too expensive for me. The Lakers are obviously good defensively. He put up these ceiling games against the Hornets, against the Hawks, and against the Nets. So fast-paced teams there. Lakers a bit slower than them, better defensively. So I don't expect him to put up a ceiling game again tonight. Someone that I would take a few shots on in tournaments, Jonas Valanciunas. I think he just matches up well against the Lakers. They always run two bigs with Gasol or Harrell as the center, and then AD at the 4, obviously. So I do like Joval. Again, the only problem here is that they only have an implied team total of 105, so that's pretty low. But I could definitely see a ceiling game from Joval today. If you're looking at how he performed against the Lakers last year, he had a 50-point game, 124, and then a few other low-scoring games. But I definitely think there's a ceiling there.
No concern for foul trouble with LeBron and AD playing up against him?
No, I think he's European. Usually they're a bit smarter with their fouls, a bit more conservative, not as aggressive. So I think he's fine. He's been in the league for a while, so
that's true.
No issues there.
Comment from Thomas. Slow-mo plays well today.
Slow-mo? Kyle Anderson?
Yep.
I mean, yeah, sure, but I don't like his price tag. That's the main problem for me.
Just expensive to pay up.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's I think there's one more question. Yeah, Hasty again, lots of blowouts today, and then Jonas will see lots of floor time from Hasty.
Yeah, I do like him in tournaments.
Yeah, definitely an interesting play today. Let's go into the next game. We have Washington against Brooklyn. Westbrook's back for Washington. Injuries on the Washington side, nothing new, nothing notable, just Westbrook back in. Starters, we have Russ, Beal, Denny, Hachimura, and Bryant. What do you think of their backcourt today? Any interest paying up on for Beal or Westbrook, or no interest in Beal with Westbrook back in? He's kind of priced up on Fanduel or draft.
Yeah, so Westbrook is still priced. Beal is priced as if Westbrook was out. So he's 9.8 on Fanduel. What do you know his price on DraftKings? I think
Beal?
it's
9-1.
9.1. Yeah, so he's a better play on DraftKings for that reason, for the pricing. Westbrook. So just before I go over these guys, this is my second favorite game of the slate. It has the highest over/under at 242. So the Wizards are projected to score 117 points. So definitely some good targets here. Probably going to be a few guys from each team from this game in the winning lineup, but we don't know who it's going to be. It's hard to predict. Obviously Westbrook, if we could get there, if we had more value, I would have a lot of interest, but it's tough on the slate. I think we have other guys that we'd rather spend up for who are around $1,000 cheaper. So I don't think we need Westbrook in our cash games, but definitely a good tournament target today. Outside of him, Beal, I mentioned, too expensive for me on FanDuel. DraftKings price is fair if you want him in tournaments. Thomas Bryant, I'm a fan of Thomas Bryant. I think his price is pretty good on FanDuel. DraftKings a bit more, 6.6K. That's probably too expensive for me. So most of these guys grade out to be better FanDuel plays for me. In general, Hachimura, you could take some shots there. 5.2 on DraftKings, 5K on FanDuel. So if his minutes get increased to around 30, the 30 that we've been seeing last year, definitely he's a strong play for that price. But we've seen him around 25 and 20 minutes so far this season because he's just getting back from his injury still. So not too much interest there for me. Bertans, another guy I'll mention. He can always catch fire. I do like him in tournaments as well. No one else here really for me other than those guys.
Okay. Another comment from Hasty. KD versus Westbrook will be fun. And then also he says Kyrie needs to get more shots for KD.
Yeah. So we'll go over that game, but Kyrie has been chucking the ball. He hasn't been hitting recently. Definitely needs to get KD going. I agree with that.
Yep.
He's their main guy.
KD? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Brooklyn, we have Jeff Green back in. Starters right now, we have Irving, Harris, TLC, KD, and DeAndre Jordan. Any interest paying up for Durant or Irving in cash games today?
It's interesting. So yeah, they have the highest implied team total of the season. I think it's at 125 right now. So they're obviously the highest on the slate as well. So yeah, I do have a lot of interest in KD and Kyrie. Right now, they're not fitting into my cash builds, but I do like them a lot. I think they're elite tournament options. If I had the salary for them in cash games, I would. But just because they're playing together, we don't know who it's going to be that gets there for them. I don't see many scenarios where they both hit their ceiling in the same game, but they definitely can both hit their floor in the same game. So I don't mind them in cash games and really like them in GPPs. Karis Levert, price is still up, so not too much interest there. He hasn't looked good since KD and Kyrie came back. He obviously had the monster game when they were out. So you can take some shots there. It's probably the best matchup you can get against Washington. Obviously, he's the leader of that second unit, so he can definitely get there in those secondary minutes. Joe Harris on FanDuel, specifically 4.5K. Don't mind that price. He's been getting like 30 fantasy points his last 3 games, so that's pretty fair for me if you want him as a last piece. But outside of that, not too much interest here from me.
Okay.
for their bench guys.
Sounds good. Question from Arshia over on YouTube. He's asking, do you like Karis Levert?
Yeah, I like Karis Levert. The only problem is he's still priced up. Like for 6.5K, you would probably want around 30, 35 fantasy points. If you think he can get there, then yeah, play him. But in cash games, not really someone that interests me.
Yeah. Does he get more of a run in the games that aren't as close? Like when they take out Kyrie and KD? Is that when he gets more of his run when both of them are playing?
We've seen around 24 minutes from him in games that KD and Kyrie have played. In the only game that those two were out, he played 38 minutes. So I think we just have to just target him more on the games where KD and Kyrie are out, and then just fade him other days.
Okay. Do you think there's any interesting pieces here in case of a blowout in this game, both sides?
Not too much for me. Like I think this game will stay competitive.
Okay, let's go into the next one. We have Utah Jazz against the Spurs. Let me load that one up. Okay, we can go over the Utah injuries first. Royce O'Neal probable, and Favors questionable. Starters right now we have Conley, Mitchell, Bogdanovich, Royce O'Neal if he's in, and then Gobert. Any interest on the Utah side for this game?
So just one piece I'll talk about here, just because, as I always mention with the Jazz, similar to the Suns, they just have so many guys that they spread the ball around to. But one guy's price tag stands out for me a lot on DraftKings, 7.2K, Rudy Gobert. I think that's just too cheap for him. Obviously, he has double-double upside every game, has the ability to go out there and get 5 blocks. So I do like him. I think that price is too cheap. We usually see him for a little bit more than that 7.2 price tag on DraftKings. So that's really the only guy that I do want to talk about here. No one else really interests me.
Yeah. I think Shaq had some beef with Gobert. I don't know if it was beef, but he called him out for his big contract, being like, to all the kids out there, you can only average, like, you only need to average 10 points per game to get, what was it, like, how many million did he get?
200?
Yeah, 200 million. Just need 10 points a game. So he said it's something to aspire to. So
yeah, those old heads, they don't know the game.
I don't know the game. Yeah. Before we do the Spurs side, we have a question. Arshia, different slate, but he's just asking about Christian Wood. Just, I guess, what do you think of Christian Wood this year? You really like him, right? He's in a good situation, and he's pretty much in his prime, I think.
Yeah, so Christian Wood, like, for the past few years, he's always been a guy that's flown under the radar. Like, he was in Milwaukee or Philadelphia, then Milwaukee, and then Detroit. So every time, like, the starting big would go out, we would always play Christian Wood. He would always smash, like, get 50. So this is nothing new for DFS players, and we've always liked him because every time we've started him, he always does well. So, yeah, I'm a fan.
Oh, okay. Hasty saying Rudy is a steal today. Question about Conley. Is he too expensive on FanDuel?
He's 6'6". He's 6'6". I think that's too much. I think we have guys like Kobe White, who we'll talk about later, 6'1", just a better price tag. Ricky Rubio, 4'9", and then we also have guys like Dame, Steph, and Kyrie in the upper tier. So I don't think Conley fits many builds today.
Yeah, definitely not a priority because I think he's had some good games recently, so his price tag's bumped up a little bit, and it's probably not going to be sustainable. That price.
If you're looking at his game log, like, obviously that stands out, but I just don't really want to buy at this price. Like, if he shoots 20 shots like he shot last game, obviously he's a good play for 6.6K, but I don't think that's really sustainable for Mike Conley.
I agree with you. Hasty Conley finally
paying off the contract, something like that.
Conley finally to burn this season.
Finally to burn?
I'm not sure. From a teacher, that's some questionable English there. I'm not sure. Oh, not a burn this season.
To burn?
Yeah. So he likes him now. He's worth the money now.
I think Conley cut his hair now. I think, didn't he?
Is that the difference?
I don't think Hasty liked him when he had that long hair.
Yeah, he needs more of that L'Oreal hair gel.
For sure.
For sure. Okay. Spurs side, we have Aldridge questionable, Weatherspoon out, and Derek White out again. Starters, we have DeJounte Murray, Walker, DeRozan, Johnson, Aldridge. Any interest on the Spurs today?
Not too much here. Obviously, if LMA is ruled out, he's questionable now, so we just don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But same sort of thing as Utah. Just knowing that no one stands out here. They're priced up because LMA was out those last 2 games. So I don't know. Not anything here that I want to touch.
Yeah, so it's not a game you'd want to target for any format, really, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you maybe in tournaments it's not going to be popular. That's probably the only reason to play it.
Yeah. Back to the hair. Seems to be a popular topic. DFS Crunch. New hair is better for Conley. Also, Fox, Hasty says, and then he also says about himself, those who can't do, teach.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of liked Fox more with the long hair. I definitely like Conley more with the short hair, so I'm with him on that one. But I'm not sure about the Fox take. I like Fox with the long hair. Kind of has a small head with the short hair. His head looks tiny.
Yeah, I think you're kind of right there. Okay, enough hair talk. Let's go into the next game. That's how you know you don't want to target that game when we're talking about the hair. Denver versus Minnesota. Minnesota, kind of shaky this season. I think we've had Russell a few times let us down. I know he's let me down in my season-long fantasy so far, especially with Cat out. I feel like his price hasn't been moving much because we just expect him to perform a lot better than what he's been doing. So hopefully he can do something today. We can go over the news for that game. Where is it? One sec. I don't think... Do we have anything here? Yeah, okay. Yeah, so for Denver side, we have Whittington out and then Porter Jr. out with I think it's COVID, right? Contact tracing for him still. Starters, Murray, Harris, Barden, Millsap, Jokic. What do you think of Millsap today with, what's his face, with Porter out? And then also I think Barden, he didn't perform too well last time, but he got a lot of minutes. Do you have any interest in paying for Barden today? He should get there, right, with all the minutes?
Yeah, so this is I talked about Brooklyn having the best matchup against the Wizards. This is probably a better matchup against the Timberwolves. They're just awful defensively. The only concern here is a blowout, but it's an 8.5 spread for Denver, so probably not too big of a concern for me. Like you mentioned, Porter Jr. is out. Doesn't really bump up Paul Millsap for me. Porter missed last game. Paul Millsap got 18 minutes, so nothing really there. The main guy that is bumped up is Will Barton. He played 35 minutes last game, much higher than his season average before, around 26. So that bump up was nice. You mentioned he hasn't performed, or he didn't perform last game with the start. He only had a usage rate of 9% last game, so he's usually a guy that hovers around 20. So I definitely think there's some regression due there. He only shot 1 for 7, so that's probably not sustainable. He's definitely going to pick it up a little bit at least. We always like him in DFS. He's always been a guy that gets rebounds, points, assists, steals, blocks. He's just long and active, so that's always nice. He likes to shoot the ball a lot, so that's nice as well. Only 5K on DraftKings. 5K on Fanduel, 5.4 on DraftKings, so he's a lock for me on both sites in both formats. The other guy here, Nikola Jokic, he's on the cover of our thumbnail today, of course. Really like him on Fanduel, 10.6K, gets the nuts matchup against the Timberwolves. So I do like that price tag a lot. He's looked like the MVP so far this year, at least in my opinion. So I really like Jokic. I like spending up for him. Not too much value at center today on Fanduel, so it makes a lot of sense. Last guy I'll touch on here is Monte Morris. He played 30 minutes last game with Michael Porter Jr. being out. If you need him as a last piece, I don't mind that. Definitely not going to go out of my way to target him, but he's there if you need him. Only 4-4 on FanDuel. I don't mind that price tag. But yeah, main guys here, Barton and Jokic for me.
Yep, not so much Millsap, right?
I mean, like, he's fine as a last piece. Probably better play on DraftKings, 4.5K. But yeah, just the last piece for me.
Okay. Comment from Ariane. TLC starting is helpful. He's starting, right?
Yeah, he's starting, but he's looked bad in his starts. Obviously, he had the big game when KD and Kyrie were out, but last 2 games he put up 8 fantasy points and then 3 fantasy points. So, not much interest there for me.
Hasty saying Jokic gonna smash Naz. Yeah, I think Naz gets into foul trouble, right? Quite often.
Yeah, I like Naz. We'll go over him when we go over the Timberwolves. So,
okay,
yeah.
and then Trigger's back here. He's a rich man, he says, from the Chetty lineup. Any comment there, Chris?
Do we know how many fantasy points he got? Did he get to that 30-point mark?
You checking? Pull up our records. D'Lo has been a trash can. Agree. TLC sucks from Hasty. Yeah, I guess Trigger's rich now. Might not see him here as often anymore from that Chetty lineup. Okay, we can go over, let's see, Minnesota, Okogie out, Noel out, and Towns out. Hopefully he comes back soon. Not sure. Starters, we have Rubio, Russell, Beasley, Culliver, and Reed. Yeah, as I was saying about Russell, he's kind of been a big letdown. Trash can, as you see in the YouTube chat. Do you think he'll perform ever? Like, is he going to show up this season or no? You're just taking it off.
First, I'm just checking out Chetty. He got 18.8 yesterday, so performed as expected. I think we had a projection of 19, so that's always nice to see. Didn't hit that 30 mark. The rest of the lineup was probably good, but Chetty definitely wasn't the reason that Trigger got rich. Yeah, on to Minnesota. D'Lo, like, this price tag is just way too cheap for him. Don't really want to take his recent performances into account with my decision here. He's seen a usage rate around 30, 33 with Cat out, so that's just a ridiculously high rate for his price tag. Only 7.2 on FanDuel. I think he's, let me see on DraftKings. He's 7.4, a little bit more, but don't mind him. Really like him in tournaments today. People are going to be scared off of him just with the game log, but I think he has a lot of upside. So I'm a fan of D'Lo. Always been a fan of him for DFS. So don't mind him in tournaments. Don't mind him as a last piece in cash games. Not going to jam him in just because he's looked pretty bad, but he's really good in tournaments. For me, one guy that stands out here more so is Ricky Rubio. 4.9 on FanDuel, 5K on DraftKings. That price just sort of makes things work. If it's not a blowout, we should see around 30 minutes from him. He has the ball in his hands a lot. He gets a lot of assists. He does the things that we like in DFS. He's always been like a triple-double threat, sort of. So I'm a fan of Rubio. I think this price tag is fair for him. And then on FanDuel specifically, Naz Reid. DraftKings priced him up, actually, so not really in play for me. He's 5.5 there. As I think someone mentioned, or you mentioned, foul trouble for him. That could be a scenario that plays out, but I don't like to predict that either. But he's still a little too expensive for me on DraftKings, 5.5K. The price tag that stands out is on FanDuel. Power forward eligible, 4.9K. He's fitting into almost all of my builds right now. He makes a lot of sense in that power forward position where we need the value to pay up for other guys, and he provides it for us.
Yeah, he is the highest projected player we have on the FanDuel side at 30%. I mean, if the foul trouble thing happens and you do fade him, that would do really well for you. But I think you said with how he fits into the lineups, it's kind of a risk to do that. But
I mean, he has 6 fouls. Like if his price tag is so low, if he gets 3 quick ones in the first half, he can still get there in the second half for his price tag. So not too big of an issue there for me.
Oh, just the matchup with Jokic. probably, for me. That's what makes me a little bit skeptical, concerned.
Well, the thing is, they probably need him out there against Jokic. Like, they don't really want Ed Davis guarding Jokic, I don't think. Like, and Jokic, I don't think he's doesn't have much like back to the basket game where he like swings through and then draws fouls. So I don't think he's one of those guys that we should worry about.
Yeah. Okay, some comments. We have D'Lo never be anything. Chetty just did what he had to do. 18 points. Yeah, that's what we had him projected for. So he did what he had to do. D'Lo is on the back of a milk carton right now. I think so.
Do you know what that means?
Yeah, he's missing.
Missing?
Yeah. Low projections.
Wait. Is that from Hasty? That seems like something someone older would say.
That's from Trigger.
Oh, I like that one.
Yeah, that's a good one. From Hasty, we have low projections for D'Lo because he sucks. Will people play him?
Well, his projection isn't too low. We have him for, let's see here. Do you know his projection? I can't seem to find.
35 on Fanduel and then 37 on DraftKings for D'Lo.
Yeah, so it's reasonable. There's definitely room for upside. Like, we've seen D'Lo get 50, 60 if his shot is
cut
falling.
out. Like, he should be.
Yeah.
He should be. But I mean, the way he's been playing this season, I don't know. There's like,
well, if you're looking at the game log, like he's been in a lot of blowouts. In the 3 games with Cat out, they've all been blowouts. He hasn't seen the fourth quarter run. He's still got 35 one game in 31 minutes, so not awful, but if he gets that fourth quarter run, he could definitely smash the slate.
yeah. Well, actually, do you think this game will stay competitive?
Like I said, when we first started talking about it, 8.5 point spread favoring Denver, so I mean, like, nothing that would make us think it's going to blow out early.
Well, yeah. I don't know. We'll see about that. Next up, are any questions? Rubio looks good at his price tag. Timberwolves look like a G League team without Cat. Yeah, I agree. That's my concern with this game. Like, just, yeah, I don't know. I feel like this one could blow out of all the games here. Like, they look really, really bad.
Listen, you can go on your local book. You can go to your local bookie. Put up an alternative line spread. Make it like 15 plus 15 for the Timberwolves. You'll get like $1,000 to your $100. So you can go do that, and then you can get back to us tomorrow.
Yeah, I already did that. I think I'm gonna get rich with Trigger on that one. First the Chetty, then the blowout here. Hasty saying T-Wolf should play fast and let Rubio do his thing. Just fill lanes and he will find you. He's saying that's how they should play.
They do play fast. Sometimes it hurts them just because they seem to play no defense.
Yeah.
But I think they are one of the faster-paced teams.
Yeah. Trigger, back to the blowout. He's saying the Wolves have been trying to get blown out recently. I think so. And then 2 quick questions before the next game. JaMychal Green at all? And then also, are you playing Jokic in cash?
I'm playing Jokic in cash on FanDuel. I think he's a lock there. No interest in JaMychal Green. I mean, if you think he sees like 20 minutes, sure. Maybe some... I don't know. He's more of a last piece guy. He doesn't really have a ceiling, but we don't need him as a last piece today.
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the next game. We have Clippers at Phoenix. For the Clippers side of things, we just have Marcus Morris out. Starters, we have Pat Bev, Paul George, Leonard, Batum, and Ibaka. Any interest here today?
Clippers, so Paul George, he's looked really good this season. Definitely looks healthy, doesn't look as bad as he did last year. Obviously, he also got that big contract, so he's looked really good. If you're looking at him from like a purist standpoint, he hasn't looked good. He's been shooting a low percentage, but in DFS, he's been getting a bunch of rebounds, assists, blocks, steals. He had 6 steals last game, which is really nice. Put up 57 FanDuel points, so that was nice. Yeah, so I don't mind him in tournaments. I think he has upside just because he does a little bit of everything. Kawhi, a little bit too expensive for me. 10.5 on FanDuel. Better price on DraftKings, only 9.6. I think you can take some shots there in tournaments. Other than those two, there's not too much here. No one that really has upside. Maybe Lou Williams in tournaments, but outside of him, there's no one that has upside for a ceiling game from this team just because they have Kawhi and PG in. So probably Paul George in cash games. I don't mind him as a last piece. I'm not going out of my way to target him, but don't mind him. Leonard tournaments on DraftKings, and then Lou Will tournaments on both sites if you want to take some shots there.
Okay. From Trigger, today's Chetty Osman is going to be Juancho Hernan Gomez.
I mean, Juancho, we've seen some big games for us in the past seasons. I think last year, even when he got traded to the Timberwolves from the Nuggets, he looked really good. Just not seeing the minutes anymore, only like 14 per game, so I don't think we need it.
Don't need it. Okay. Yeah, Juancho's probably going to make Trigger rich today. Yesterday was Chetty. Today it's Juancho. Trying to make it all back today. Do you think Booker will show up to play today? I'll ask that right after I go over the starters and injury news on the Phoenix side. Injuries, Nader, Smith out, Saric back in for them. Starters projected: Chris Paul, Booker, Bridges, Crowder, DeAndre Ayton. I guess you could start with answering the first question. Is Booker going to show up today?
So they got a really tough matchup with the Clippers. Booker should see Kawhi or Paul George on him, so that's a tough matchup for him. Obviously, we know Booker has the ceiling. We've seen it in every season past. Don't mind Booker. 7.5K on Fanduel. I think he's 7.7 on DraftKings. It's a decent price, but he's looked not like himself. Just because Chris Paul is there, he has the ball in his hands a lot. As I always say when we go over this team, they have Ayton. We don't know who it's going to be each night. It could be Booker, it could be Paul, it could be Ayton. It could be just like even for all of them, like we've seen so far this season. So not too much interest in Booker for me. Someone that looked good last game is DeAndre Ayton. He played 38 minutes, a season high. That was nice. Probably had to do with the fact that they were going up against Jokic, so they wanted his big body out there. Against the Clippers, he should probably see, 30, 32, 34 minutes. So don't mind him. I think he has upside. I wouldn't play any of these guys in a cash game. They have a pretty low implied team total, only 106, so one of the lowest on the entire slates. So, yeah, maybe some shots on Bridges in tournaments. Crowder, don't mind him in tournaments, but not too much here that stands out for me.
Yeah, I had some insider news from the Phoenix locker room. Someone told me that Ayton has some mental issues. He's a little bit soft. Any comment on that, Chris?
DeAndre Ayton?
Yeah.
Sure. Like, can't go against the insider news.
Okay. Over the next game, any questions? Hasty thinks Book's going to show up today. He's not scared at all. Saric was out last game. He's back. Jeff mentioning that. That's why Ayton had to play more. Do you think that's going to affect his minutes today?
I mean, Saric has seen like 14 minutes each game, so it's not too much of a difference. I think it probably affects like their wing guys more, like someone like Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, Mikal Bridges. I think it affects them more than Ayton, but I think Ayton can still see like 32. Obviously, I don't think he's going to get 38 again, but I think he can see 32 minutes.
Yeah, he's definitely one of their guys. I think it's Booker, Ayton, and CP3 for sure up there for them. Let me load up the next game. We have Dallas at Chicago. There's some questions that I can go over once I load this one up. 1 second. Okay. Questions and comments. Ariane's saying Kuzma starting. I saw that as well. He is starting today. That's confirmed. Do you want
starting for KCP, I guess?
Yeah, I think so. We also have news that Grayson Allen, I saw, is upgraded to probable today, 10 minutes ago. Do you want to comment on that, Chris? Either of those news?
Yeah, so with Grayson Allen, just probably takes away interest from Desmond Bane. Doesn't really matter on this slate. Also, Melton is back in, so hurts probably Kyle Anderson a bit. Probably sees the ball in his hand a little less. Hurts Tyus Jones, but doesn't change too much. As for Kuzma, he's starting for KCP. That just means I have no interest in THT anymore. Horton Tucker, obviously.
Yeah,
Kuzma,
I think so too.
I don't know. Like Kuzma with LeBron and AD. I assume that LeBron is playing because we didn't get news on that. Maybe we will soon, but if they're both playing, not really too much interest in Kuzma. He's too scoring reliant for me. Doesn't really put up too many other stats, so not too much interest for me.
Yeah. Back to the Sarge news. I think Jeff is probably a fan of Phoenix. He probably watches them. He's saying he plays backup to Ayton. And then some comments from Hasty on Sarge. Sarge plays defense, and then Trigger says that Sarge is a gifted athlete.
Trigger, I don't know what Trigger is, what he's watching. Let me I'll pull up like a game flow, see what happened. Yeah, so last game when they took Ayton out, they put Frank Kaminsky in for those minutes. So he's probably right with Sarge. I think. Let me look at a earlier game and see what happened.
And then as you do that, we have a question. Over under on Grayson Allen tripping someone today.
0.5.
0.5.
Yeah, so Sarge, so Trigger, I mean, Jeff, I think he's actually right. So Sarge has been playing the backup 5, just splitting minutes with Ayton directly. So yeah, sorry if I said otherwise. Yeah, I still think he can see like 32 minutes. Give Sarge 16. I think that's definitely in the realm of possibilities.
Yeah. Yeah, Trigger's on something because he's saying that Kaminsky is a freak of nature as well. I guess he has some sort of, I don't know, some sort of bias there. I'm not sure what he's watching.
Trigger likes to troll. He trolled us with the 360 dunk. He had me searching for that for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, you got Chris scratching his head on the 360 dunk. Okay, I can go over the next one. I think 2 more games left. We have Dallas at Chicago. Dallas side, Luka questionable, and then Maxi Kleber probable. Starters, Doncic if he's in, Richardson, Hardaway Jr., Finney-Smith, and Powell. Doncic, is he in today? Is he not in? And interest playing him?
So 10K on DraftKings for Doncic, just way too cheap for me. I think he does play. Obviously, if he doesn't, we can always late swap to guys like, I think we had a question on this earlier before the stream started. Guys like Brunson, guys like Trey Burke, they're going to pop a lot if Doncic sits, but I do think he'll play this game. Gets one of the best matchups against the Bulls. I mentioned the Wizards are a good matchup, and the Timberwolves are a good matchup. The Bulls are right up there with just they don't play defense, they play fast. Everything just lines up. So a lot of interest in Luka, more so on DraftKings, just because we're still getting him for 11.3 on Fanduel. I think it's too expensive for what we've seen so far from him. Outside of him, Josh Richardson, as the last piece. I don't mind him. I think he's better on... Actually, I think he's a fair price on both sides. 4.8K on FanDuel is pretty fair. 5K, I believe, on DraftKings. So I don't mind him as a last piece. Not someone I'm going out of my way to get, but definitely as a last piece in this really good game environment, I do like him. Outside of him, not too much here. Maybe Tim Hardaway in tournaments. I always like to mention him. Not anyone else. Just because we know Luka's going to be the guy that has the ball in his hands the whole time.
Yeah, Hasty's touching up on the Luka question. If Luka plays, will he get a ton of points tonight? Or sorry, he will get a ton of points is what Hasty's saying. And then he's also asking Luka or Jalen and Burks. I guess that depends on if Luka's in, right?
Yeah, if Luka's out, we'll have to see who starts. I assume it's going to be Brunson. That's what we've seen in the past before he got injured last year. Always put up big games with Luka out, so he kind of fills in for that main ball handler role. So we'll have a lot of interest in Brunson if Luka is out.
Yep, and then Trigger's saying Luka's going to have his way with the Bulls tonight. I think so.
Yeah, finally the first sane comment from Trigga.
I like the other ones. I'm not sure. I like them. Chicago side, I think the whole team's still out with the COVID. Most of them. Markkanen out, Satoransky out, Arcidiacono out, and Hutchinson out. Starters, we have Kobe White, who you mentioned you liked him quite a bit today, or you're more interested in him at the 6K range. Zach Levine, Porter priced up on DraftKings 6.2. Williams and Carter. Any interest on Chicago today?
So, you said the whole team is out. Like, it's just three guys. It's one of their starters and one of their backups. So not too much is out. Like in the NFL, we've seen COVID just wreak havoc through teams. Like they have to go to third stringers. This is nothing. But we can still take advantage of these price tags. Specifically on FanDuel, you mentioned Otto Porter. He's 4.4K on FanDuel. 6.6 on DraftKings?
6.2 on DraftKings Porter.
6.2, yeah, that's just way too expensive for me. So FanDuel, not sure why they didn't price them up. Just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, 4.4K is just, it's a lock for me on FanDuel. Zach Levine, he looks good on both sites. 7.3 on DraftKings, 7.7 on FanDuel. He likes to chuck. That's what we like in DFS. He can get some steals, get some blocks. Has the ball in his hands a lot, so his price tag is really fair for me. I like him in both formats on both sites. Another guy that's a bit more specific to a certain site is Thaddeus Young. I like him on DraftKings. He's 3.9K. He's looked good with Markkanen out, with Hutchison out. I do like him. 4.2K on FanDuel. Don't mind that, but I just don't think we need it. We have Naz Reid, 4.9K, and then we have someone we'll talk about in the next game. So not too much interest in Thad Young on FanDuel, but definitely in play on DraftKings in cash. Then last guy I'll touch on is Kobe White. So no Sato, no Arcidiacono. He's the main point guard, the main guy that will have that duty. He splits the ball handling duties with Levine, but outside of that, not too much competition for him today. He played 40 minutes in the first game. These guys were out. And then on the back end of a back-to-back in a blowout against Milwaukee, he played 28 minutes only. But he had a nice usage rate, 27%. So that looks good. His price tag, too cheap, 6.1 on FanDuel, 6.2 on DraftKings. So I do like that a lot. It fits the builds. So yeah, those are the main guys from this team.
Yeah, you touched on this. Thomas had the question about Thad Young, asking about his cheap price on FanDuel. You seem to read a bit more, but I think what is he, 700? More?
Yeah, Naz Reid is 4.9. I have no problems with Thad Young. If we didn't have Naz Reid, if we didn't have Covington, who we'll talk about in the next game, I think we would have a ton of interest in Thad Young. But he's I like his game for DFS. He always puts up steals and blocks, so we do like that on FanDuel. 4.2K, it's probably a little too cheap for him.
Yep. Hasty saying Brunson is amazing IRL. Definitely seems like a player Hasty would like. Any interest in Arcidiacono from Trigga?
No, he's out.
Yep. And then
No interest.
Hasty saying Nova fan to Trigga. Trigga is a Nova fan. I think that's it. Let's go into the next game. We have, let me load it up, Portland versus Golden State. Just get it up here. All right, we can go over Portland first. We have Little, questionable for them. Hood out, and then Trent, probable. Starters, we have Lillard, McCollum, Derek Jones Jr., Covington, and Nurk. Any interest in Portland?
Yeah, so this is my favorite game of the slate today. Second favorite is Washington-Brooklyn. This Portland-Golden State game is my favorite. We have a tight spread at 4, over-under 236. So on the Portland side, 120 projected team total. So I do like that. Obviously, we can go over the main guys, Damon Cj. We know that they're the alphas of this team. They shoot 20 shots per game. Price tag is really nice on Dame, specifically on FanDuel, 9.3K. I think that's a little too cheap for him. We mentioned last time that he likes playing in Oakland or now in San Francisco, but likes playing that hometown team. Always seems to have big games. He put up 54 last game, so probably do something similar today. 9.8K on DraftKings, a little bit more. Still have interest in tournaments, but not in cash games. I think he's more cash viable over on Fanduel. Wouldn't touch CJ. I think his price is too high. If you're looking at the game log, you'll obviously like him, but I think the price is too high for him. Just we usually see him around 7K. Now he's at around 9K, so just I want to stay away from him. The main guy here, so Rodney Hood is out. I think that helps Covington, helps him secure some minutes. I do like him a lot. Usually in these fast-paced games, he always seems to get like 3 or 4 steals. Puts up a lot of threes. Really good three-point shooter. So I do like him a lot. I like him a lot in real life as well. So love Covington on FanDuel, 5.2K, and then over on DraftKings as well, only 5K. Obviously, you get the 3-point bonus on DraftKings. So I do like Covington a lot. Outside of that, not too much here. Nurkic, 6K now, so he got a little bit of a price reduction. Don't mind him in tournaments, but we haven't seen the minutes, so no interest for me in cash games.
Yeah. Question about Nurkic. His price is bumped down a bit on FanDuel, but he's been trash. What do you think of Nurkic?
I mean, the thing is, it's all about minutes. Like, if he gets the minutes that we're used to seeing, he's going to smash the 6K price tag, but he's been trending down. Like, he saw 21, then 34, and then 25, 22, and then 17 last game. So it's been trending down. 17 last game against this same Warriors team. That probably means there's something in the matchup there that Terry Stotts didn't like. So probably I don't really have much interest in Nurkic.
Okay. And then comment on McCollum. He's been cooking, frying, sauteing, whatever you want to call it this year. Do you think he can keep it up? You don't think so, right? And that's from Trigger.
Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think he can keep it up. I think the price is too high.
Yeah. He even has the accent on the E for sauteing. Impressive stuff, Trigger. Hasty's asking Trent Jr., Jones Jr., which Jr.?
Trent Jr., he likes to chuck. I like Trent Jr.
Okay. Let's go over Golden State. Last game, last team. Green in for them. Wiseman probable. I think he had the ankle sprain. Starters, we have Curry, Oubre, Wiggins, Green, and Wiseman if they're both playing. Any interest here on Golden State?
Yeah, so as I said, this is my favorite game to target players from, just because both teams don't really like to play defense. They both play fast, so Steph Curry, he's a priority for me, especially on FanDuel. I like his price at 9.8K. I think obviously he has 50-point upside. He shoots the ball a ton. Once it starts falling at a higher clip, he's gonna have a ceiling game. So I do like him a lot. Other guy specific on FanDuel is Andrew Wiggins, 6.3K. Not a fan of him in real life, but in DFS, like, he puts up a ton of shots, plays a ton of minutes. Price tag too cheap, gets steals and blocks. He's active, so I'm a fan of him. Draymond Green, I think he's still on a minutes restriction, so no interest there for me. Eric Pascal, Villanova guy, probably some interest from Trigga if he's a Villanova fan. He looked decent last game, played 16 minutes, put up 22 fantasy points, so if you want to take some shots there, I like it more than guys he mentioned earlier. But not too much interest here for me other than Curry and Wiggins.
Yeah. Comments, Wiseman's a beast from Hasty, and then Trigger saying Draymond Green making all-NBA trash team, and he's saying 6K, what is FanDuel smoking? It's a little high for him. I think so too. 6K?
I mean, if he gets the minutes, like if he gets 34 minutes, that's pretty low for him, but obviously he's limited to probably around 24. We saw 18 from him last game.
Pascal, the sixth man for the all-NBA trash can team. That's a good one. Okay. I think we can go over core plays now. That's all the games. Let me just reset the filters here. And yeah, if you guys are enjoying the content, be sure to like the video. That helps us out a lot with the recommendations on YouTube and Discovery. Also for yourself, if you like what you see, subscribe and hit the bell button so you can stay notified when we go live. It's 2 hours before main slate every single day, so it's good free content here. Also, if you guys like the projections you're seeing, if you like our optimizer, you can get that at dfscrunch.com. There's a 3-day free trial. You get access to all the sports we have, projections, Discord community, a bunch of different sports, lots of stuff.
So just I want to add to the projections, like these are the best projections in the game in my opinion. Like I've been using them for a long time. Like if you're looking at other pros, we always like have the same optimal as them, so it's always just on the money.
Yeah, optimals usually line up with the pros. That's pretty. I think that says quite a lot about the projections. So you don't find that in too many other. I don't think in any other optimizers. So that's a big plus. And how long have you been playing DFS for? Because you said they're sharp. You've been around for a while.
Yeah, like 5-6 years. So yeah, I've used a ton of sites. I've used a ton of projection systems. Like before, I used to look through different sites, look through their projections, see who's popping and stuff like that. But now this is the only thing I use. I think they're the sharpest for sure.
Good stuff. Comments before the core plays. Green is washed from Hasty. That's what I've been saying. I think so too. Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, Green is definitely washed, but we got some pretty big news here. Luka Doncic was downgraded to probable. Can't talk. He was downgraded to doubtful. So that means usually when you get the midday downgrade, that always usually means they're out. So we'll get that updated once we're off the air. So that's late breaking news right there.
Yeah, that's definitely something you want to take into account always when you're building your lineups. All that news. So yeah. Wiggins, Oubre, Draymond from Trigger. I'm not sure what that.
If that's a question, I would say Wiggins.
Wiggins.
Or he might be saying they're all trash just because they are all trash.
Hasty's asking, would you play Jokic and Gobert, or is it crazy to put one at the utility spot? So DraftKings.
No, so like usually builds will. On DraftKings, you will get 2 centers or 2 power forwards, just because they always have a high floor for their projection. Like
from the rebounds, they're a bit more consistent than like the points scoring players, right?
Yeah, but they also get the points. Like they have more upside or a better floor. Sorry, for blocks. So usually they pop a bit more than the guards.
Yeah. Ariane mentioned the Luka doubtful. What do you think? You just touched up on that.
Yeah.
Hasty saying Jalen and Burks are locks. Great value.
Yeah, we'll go over that.
Okay.
You want to start with the core plays?
Yeah, let's go core plays. Let's go Fanduel. Let's open it up. Right now we have Juancho. I'm going to remove him, but that's for Trigger. Make sure you put Juancho in today, Trigger.
Okay, so with the Doncic news, we'll have to wait and see who's starting for him. So in cash games, I'm going to assume it's Jalen Brunson, so we can lock in Jalen Brunson. Just if he's starting for Luka, he's way too cheap for this role. Gets one of the best matchups against the Bulls, so I like him a lot. We can actually go to Josh Richardson, and we can bump up his projection just for now, just because it hasn't updated yet. We can put him around like 29.5, see what that does once we build. And then we can do the same for Trey Burke, just because I don't have him as a lock right now because I don't see him. I don't think he's going to start, but we can put him around, what's he at now? 16?
17.
Yeah, we can put him at like 23 and see what that does. Okay, so yeah, that should be good. Also, Tim Hardaway Jr., someone else. He's probably going to be part of my core, but right now we can just up his projection, put him at like 32. Yeah, okay, so then next up, we can lock in Otto Porter. So we were talking about Otto Porter on FanDuel, still 4.4K. I think that's way too cheap for him.
Yeah.
just that price tag stands out a lot. No need to get cute there and fade him, so I like him a lot. And then we can move to power forward. I think Naz Reid, I mentioned him, 4.9K. I think that's too cheap for him. So, yeah, that pretty much does it, honestly, for my locks. Gary, you can actually just make Luka Doncic 0 for now. Just see how that does, and then we can go over the build.
We'll update the projections after the show, so usually you don't have to worry about that. But as always, it's always best to do your optimizations, do your builds closer to the slate locking, because that's when you'll obviously get all the latest news taken into account.
Yeah. So yeah, those are the three locks right now, but obviously we'll add some more in later.
Should I remove this one? I just have no KD Irving.
No, that's fine right now. It's not going to affect things. We have this Dallas value that's going to it's going to change the slate entirely. So yeah, with these builds, we're still getting Curry. We're not getting the double cheap point guard just because only one of them will be starting. We want the guy that's starting. What's the price tag on Brunson? Is he 3.7 like Trey Burke? Yeah, so they're the same price. Easy late swap. Just play the guy who's starting in cash games. And then Richardson and Hardaway, obviously great plays now with Luka out, I'm going to say. Otto Porter, core play, we have him locked in. We're getting AD now. Just he fits the spend up just because we have so much value elsewhere. 10K, it's a fair price for him. We don't project him for what we did last year at like 54 on most nights. He's only at 46 now, so he had the big game last time out, shot 26 times, so that's always nice. And then Jokic obviously probably should have put him as core, but doesn't really matter. So now the 2v2 here is Wiggins and Hardaway versus Levine and Derek Jones. Definitely going to go with the first side. Just Hardaway without Luka. Just a lock for me, honestly. Probably I'm going to play him in both formats. And then Wiggins, I mentioned him. A little too cheap. Best game environment. So, yeah, I like the first side for sure.
Okay. Comments from Trigger. Mavs Bulls looking like the worst game of the century. Hasty thinks that's the Hardwood Classic. And then follow up to that chalky slate.
For us DFS players, that's definitely the Hardwood Classic. Just because we're going to have a lot of guys from this game now. Yeah.
Okay, so I think that's it for FanDuel. Do you want to do DraftKings?
Yeah, so we can just do the same thing. Just go to the Mavs, actually. Just filter them, and then we can adjust some projections. Yeah, so let's make Luka 0. Let's make Hardaway around 33. Obviously, you get the 3-pointer bonus on DraftKings. Same as Richardson. Let's do 31. Finney-Smith, I'll do like 25 for now. And then Brunson, like 27.
It's a big bump.
And then let's do Trey Burke, 23. Okay, and then we can go to, because the reason I'm doing this, I'm changing the projections. It's because I haven't built yet with this new news, so I don't know who's going to be a lock here. We'll have to see what the optimizer gives us, but for other locks, we can just go with, I like Thaddeus Young on DraftKings, 3.9K. We were talking about that, so I think he fits the build well. Zach Levine as well. I think 7.3 is a bit too cheap for him. This game is definitely going to be the chalk game of the slate with no Luka. Yeah, I think we can probably just build with these two and then see what that gives us and add some of these Dallas guys to our core. Okay, so we're getting Brunson and we're getting Richardson in the first team. Levine, obviously a lock. I think Brunson, yeah, he's a lock, 3.3K. Barton, we mentioned him, 5.4K. I like that a lot. So, Gary, do you know the difference here?
Oh, yeah, just getting the projection updates. Might take a while, actually, for it to disappear.
Yeah, so here we have, on the second team, we have Finney-Smith. And on the first team, we have Barton. That seems to be the difference. I think, I don't know. I guess we can just go over the common pieces here. So Thaddeus Young, obviously I had him as a lock. Jokic, 10.6, pretty good price. He fits in DraftKings builds now just because we have this Dallas value. Who else is here? Steph Curry, same sort of thing, 9.4K. Obviously a priority spend up for us today. Do you want to refresh it, Gary, or what?
Yeah, we could do that. I think just open up in a new one. Let's do that because I have some other settings here. Yeah, this is definitely something we're gonna fix. So when there's a lot of updates coming in, oh, there it is. Yeah, just when there's a lot of updates coming in, sometimes the page does get a little slow. We'll definitely fix that. There's been some other things that we've prioritized to fix in the last week, just because of the influx of new members. And I guess NBA just was the season just started, so there's some things we're still fixing up. But yeah, definitely something we'll fix. We're not just gonna leave it like that. But you can see it now, Chris.
So first two teams, they also have Josh Richardson in common. That price tag, 5K, probably a lock for me. So if I'm adding to the core plays, I would add Brunson and Richardson. First team has Barton and Covington versus the second team's Finney-Smith, Kobe White. I would probably lean the second team. Kobe White, I like that price tag, 6'2". You mentioned that their guards are missing. He's going to play probably at least 36 minutes in this probably now competitive game. I assume the over-under will shoot up a bit. I think that Dorian Finney-Smith is also a good play here, 4.2K. So yeah, I definitely like this second team more than the first one.
Okay. Questions in the chat. Brunson and Burks can/do play together from Hasty. Comment there. And then question from Billy. Brunson or Trey Burke tonight?
Whoever's starting, we'll have to wait and see. And then just to touch on that, Brunson and Trey Burke play together. Yeah, they do play together, but we want the starter here. We want the guys that we want to prioritize guys like Hardaway, guys like Richardson, because they're going to play more minutes than the non-starter between Burke and Brunson. So, I mean, you can play them together. I have no problems with that, of course.
Yeah. Do you want to quickly maybe go over some player groups for GPP contests? Is there anything that stands out today for you?
Let's take a look. I don't know. There's not much here in this build. Everything seems to correlate pretty well together.
In the optimals?
Yeah, in these builds that we built.
Okay. What about any low-owned players that you might be interested in for tournaments? I'm sure the Burke will have to update that with Juancho out, or do you think it's going to stay at 7-8%?
Oh no, it'll definitely go up. The projected ownership takes longer than the projections to go up, just because they run after the projections are built. So that will take longer. Low-owned guys, Nurkic on Fanduel, we talked about that. 6K price tag. If he sees the minutes for some reason today, he can absolutely smash that. Someone that my favorite tournament play probably today is D'Angelo Russell. He's in a great spot. Price is low. We know the ceiling he has. I really like him. People are going to be off him just because he's looked pretty bad, but I just want to buy into the fact that he has the ball in his hands a lot. Like I mentioned, 33% usage rate without Cat, and yeah, taking a ton of shots. If the game stays close, I expect him to crush that price tag.
What do you think of someone like Gary Harris? He plays quite a few minutes, right? But has he been struggling a lot, or is he just not doing much when he's on the floor?
I mean, a few years ago, Gary Harris was really good for us in fantasy, but now they just have so many guys. They have Jamal Murray, Jokic, Barton, just guys that play ahead of him. He just stands in the corner for the most part, takes those corner threes, doesn't really drive much. Yeah, so no interest for me in Gary Harris.
Okay. If you guys have any other questions, we can go over them now before we wrap it up. Trigger's saying Harris doesn't really play, he just exercises. I think there's a few guys on your list who are like that now, right? We've got someone else.
We had Okoro the first game for Cleveland. He played 40 minutes, put up a stat line of 0 points, 3 rebounds, 0 assists, 0 steals, 0 blocks. So he was definitely out there getting exercise for 40 minutes. He also had the 6 fouls. So definitely put those into use.
Question from Thomas: Dame or Steph in tournaments? This is Fanduel because I know he plays Fanduel.
I like Dame, honestly. I think Steph will be higher owned. As I always say with Dame, playing against the hometown team, he always seems to like that narrative. Always seems to put up big games in this spot. So definitely like Dame in tournaments.
Yep. Okay, more questions. If you guys have more questions, bring them up before we wrap up. Thomas says, both similar price on FanDuel. Yeah, you answered it. And then Trigger saying, considering Rubio for GPP on FanDuel.
Yeah, like before we had this Mavs news, Rubio was like really fitting into cash builds on both sites. His price tag is really low. If the game stays competitive, he's probably going to be like a pretty big reason for that. So I do like Rubio. His price tag stands out for me. Definitely like him in tournaments.
Yeah, actually, I did want to bring up one player group for this Denver game in particular, because that's probably something I'll look at myself. I can just ask you, I guess. Some more questions. Kubak is asking, any THT love with Kuz now starting?
Less for me, but like you can take the angle that Kuzma's starting, so THT will get all the usage in the second unit. I don't mind that take. If the game blows out, THT will be in there. He'll be like chucking. He's looked really good in the preseason. Hasn't had the opportunity this year yet, but if you want to take the angle that he gets the usage in the second unit, I don't mind that minimum price. So definitely in play there.
Yep. Also, shout out to Kubaka, longtime cruncher. So good to see you in the YouTube. Hasty saying Rubio should have a good night tonight. And then Trigger's saying Will Barton should have lower ownership now.
Yeah, Will Barton will, just because we have these wing guys in Richardson and Hardaway from the Mavs. So definitely like Barton in tournaments.
Yeah, ownership should change a bit more once they update.
Sure.
The last thing I wanted to ask you, if there's any other questions, we can do that too. But if this Denver-Minnesota game stays close, stays competitive, who would you like to have in the group? Like, who are the key players in this game for it to stay close?
So you can make a group with, we can start with Jokic. We can just get the main guys from both teams. Jokic, Jamal Murray, Barton. So we want the guys that we think we have ceilings, or that have ceilings. And then I would do this. This is the Denver group, and then I would make another group for the Timberwolves. And then for the Timberwolves, we can add Malik Beasley, D'Angelo Russell, Ricky Rubio, sure, why not? And then so since we think this game is going to stay close, right? We want to either set it to 1 or 2 minimum, so that means we'll get a minimum of 1, or you set it at 2?
Yeah, I put it at 2.
So we'll get a minimum of 2 of these guys from each team. So 2 of the 3 of Barton, Murray, and Jokic, and then 2 of the 3 of Rubio, Russell, and sorry, your camera's blocking it, Malik Beasley. So yeah, if you think the game stays close, I like setting up a group like this.
Yeah, it's something I was looking at last night. Almost forgot to bring it up.
You can do this with any game. Like I would create 2 different groups and then take the guys from each team that you think have a ceiling, put them in that one group, and then same thing for the opposing team. Set it at 1 or 2 depending on how many guys you put in there, and yeah. So this, with the core locks that you had earlier, these are the builds that we get. So yeah, I'm probably gonna set a few groups like this. This is probably one of the games I'm gonna take a closer look at and sort of see how I want to do this one. Comment: Russell is playing like KD in Thunderstruck. I didn't see that movie, but I assume it's something like Space Jam where he lost all his talent. I assume that's what the joke there is.
That's what it has to be. Okay, I guess no other questions. We can wrap it up. One more time, if you guys like the video, if you like the content here that we do every single day, subscribe and hit the bell button so you get notified. We do it 2 hours before every main slate. Also, if you guys like the content as well. Just like the video. That helps us with discovery on YouTube. That helps us out a lot. If you like our projections, if you like our tool that you're seeing that we use for the show every day, you can head over to dfscrunch.com. There's a 3-day free trial. You get access to every sport, optimizer, projections, Discord community, lots of stuff. Keep you busy for a while. And with that said, I think that's it. Good luck today, and we'll see you guys in the Discord. And yeah, we'll update you with any other news, and if you have questions there, we'll answer them. So yeah, good luck. See you guys tomorrow.